Kips Bay is a neighborhood in the New York City borough of Manhattan. A part of Manhattan Community Board 6, Kips Bay is bordered on the north by Murray Hill, on the west by Madison Square, NoMad, or Rose Hill, on the south by the Gramercy Park neighborhood and the Peter Cooper Village apartment complex, and on the east by the East River. The New York Times defines the boundaries as the area between East 23rd Street to the south, East 34th Street to the north, Lexington Avenue to the west, and the East River to the east. The American Institute of Architects AIA Guide to New York City considers the western boundary to be 2nd Avenue. History. Colonial settlement. Kips Bay was an inlet of the East River running from what is now 32nd Street to 37th Street. The bay extended into Manhattan Island to just west of what is now 1st Avenue and had two streams that ran from it. The bay was named after New Netherland Dutch settler Jacobus Hendrickson Kip, whose farm ran north of present-day 30th Street along the East River. The bay became reclaimed land, yet Kips Bay remains the name of the area. Kip built a large brick and stone house near the modern intersection of 2nd Avenue and East 35th Street. The house stood from 1655 to 1851, expanded more than once, and when it was demolished was the last farmhouse from New Amsterdam remaining in Manhattan. Iron figures fixed into the gable-end brickwork commemorated the year of its first construction. Its orchard was famous, and, when George Washington was presented with a slip of its Rosa Gallica during his first administration, it was claimed to have been the first garden to have grown it in the colonies. Kips Bay was the site of the landing at Kips Bay, an episode of the American Revolutionary War and part of the New York and New Jersey campaign. About 4,000 British Army troops under General William Howe landed at Kips Bay on September 15, 1776, near what is now the foot of East 33rd Street. Howe's forces defeated about 500 American militiamen commanded by Colonel William Douglas. The American forces immediately retreated, and the British occupied New York City soon afterward. A single survivor of the late 18th or early 19th century in the neighborhood is the simple vernacular white clapboard house, much rebuilt, at 203 East 29th Street. The house, standing gable-end to the street, is one of a mere handful of wooden houses that remain on Manhattan Island. Its date of construction is unknown but has been variously dated from around 1790 to as late as 1870, currently listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The house is privately owned and not open to the public. South of the Kips Bay farm stood the substantial Federal-style villa erected facing the East River by Henry A. Costa, in the 30-acre estate that was purchased in 1835 by Anson Green Phelps, towards the city. The Bull's Head cattle market fronting the Boston Post Road extended southwards from 27th Street to 23rd Street. Affording a distinctly less rural aspect, the villa was removed to make way for row houses in the 1860s and the cattle market was moved farther out of town, to 42nd Street. Later development. The neighborhood has been rebuilt in patches, so one can see both new high-rise structures often set back from the street, and a multitude of exposed party walls that were never meant to be seen in public. A nearly forgotten feature is the private alley called Broadway Alley, between 26th and 27th Streets, halfway between Lexington and 3rd Avenues. Reputedly, the last unpaved street in Manhattan. In the 1960s and later, 4 Henry Phipps high-rise apartment complexes were constructed mainly on East 29th Street between 1st and 2nd Avenues, and south to East 27th Street. Historically, Phipps had been a partner of Andrew Carnegie. Much earlier in time, by 1940, the Madison Square Boys Club, which had been located on East 30th Street just east of 2nd Avenue, built its own facilities on East 29th Street. In the 1990s, the club sold its facility to the Churchill School and Center, and since the sale, the club has operated its office in the Empire State Building. There are two large apartment buildings in the neighborhood named Kips Bay Towers, which are part of a 1,112-unit complex completed in 1963 and designed by architect NoMad. Built on a pier above the East River between East 25th and East 28th Streets is Waterside Plaza, which includes residential towers and the United Nations International School. There were plans to build additional above-water apartments, offices, and a hotel in the 1980s. But environmental concerns and community opposition doomed the project. Today, the waterfront south of Waterside Plaza is Stuyvesant Cove Park. The park includes a small man-made landmass extending out into the East River, which was created from excess cement dumped into the river structures. Within Kips Bay, the area along First Avenue is dominated by the institutional buildings of New York University, including Tisch Hospital, NYU College of Dentistry, NYU School of Medicine, Rusk Institute of Rehabilitation Medicine, Bellevue Hospital Center Teaching Hospital, including the Hunter College Brookdale Health Sciences Center, the Alexandria Center for the Life Sciences, and the Manhattan VA Hospital. Further north on First Avenue, in Murray Hill between East 37th and East 38th Streets, is the former Kips Bay Brewing Company, originally constructed in 1895 and now occupied by officers. Many businesses in the neighborhood use the neighborhood's name, e.g., Kips Bay Cinemas, Kips Bay Cleaners, Kips Bay Endoscopy Center and the Kips Bay branch of the New York Public Library. Since 1965, the area has had a commercial strip mall on 2nd Avenue between East 30th and 32nd Streets, set back from the street by a driveway running parallel to 2nd Avenue. This group of stores is referred to as Kips Bay Plaza, and consists of an AMC, Lowe's movie theater, a Staples office supply store, a Petco pet store, a Crunch fitness center, a 24-hour Rite Aid pharmacy and a 44,000 square feet Fairway Market located below ground. Gallery. The now demolished Church of the Sacred Hearts of Mary and Jesus. United Nations International School. 3 of the 4 towers of Waterside Plaza on the East River, with unis in the right foreground. The Smilo Research Building of New York University Medical Center. The original Bellevue Psychiatric Hospital building, now a homeless shelter.